Oh my days, man. This feels so good to do. I don't know about you guys, but this feels so... It's our first... I know we've got a proper preview of the weekend coming up towards the end of the week, but this is our official... We're previewing a game that's coming up. How are we feeling?
Football's back, baby.
Time. Been a long time. A long while for this. Now we're back. So good. You can just feel the tension already in the air. It's going to be amazing.
In the air, in the group chat. Tension everywhere. And we say football's back, though. I know, well, for anyone who's listening, you might want to wait till Thursday as well for the college football podcast to drop. But with me and Sam will be on that one. But there was some college football this weekend as well, week 1 of the college football season. Did you guys get to watch any of the college football this weekend? I watched so much.
I managed to watch a few. I caught the Longhorns decimation of I can't even remember who they played now, but they absolutely battered them. I think it was end up 52-0 in the end. I think it was
52.
So yeah, I got to watch that, and then I watched a bit of the match before. So I watched Georgia Clemson, which was an interesting game. It was basically just Georgia being Georgia and Clemson looking very bad on offense, but I don't know if that was just purely because of Georgia's amazing defense. So yeah, be interested to see how both of those two pan out in the season. And then I caught some random game. It was I can't even remember what it was. It was a very, very, very random game. It was someone like Tulane, one of those sort of non-teams that no one really cares about, sort of thing. And watched that for a bit before falling asleep.
I don't know. Tulane will get a nice little shout out on the college podcast this week because someone's picked them to win their conference. So, what about you, Sean or Carl?
I didn't watch any live. I saw quite a lot of highlights and clips and things like that. I saw a lot of the Longhorn stuff because for some reason my Twitter feed is full of Arch Manning, which is nice to see. And yeah, I saw a bit of Milrow and stuff like that. So yeah, I just saw mainly just clips on all the good bits seemingly, but I didn't watch any live games.
Arch Manning was unreal, absolutely unreal.
It was so weird to see a Manning who can like move and like be flexible and stuff like that. It was just like, this is so unusual.
I myself, I don't know especially if anyone's watching on the YouTube, if anyone can figure out why Sean's profile would be full of a Manning quarterback, just help us figure this one out. I have no idea. Carl, did you get to watch any?
I got to watch a little bit of the late afternoon match, or it's usually the late evening game, which was basically Miami versus Florida. I thought that was a decent game up until the point that as soon as Florida went for it on 4th down, I think it was early on in the second quarter, then Miami just turned on the Jets, and that was it. It was game over then. And I just stayed up to watch the first half of the Michigan Wolverines first game. They won 30 points to 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
so comfortable victory.
Yes, we did.
But this coming Saturday, oh boy, we have to go up against I think it's either against Texas or Tennessee. It's going to go.
Texas.
It's Texas. It's going to be it's going to be a rough game.
So I do implore anyone, because our team is splitting into two for the season on Hurdle the Line. We're splitting into a preview and a review team. The preview team will bring you an episode on a Friday morning. Record on a Thursday night, bring it out on a Friday morning. The review team will cover the Thursday night football, Sunday slate. Be out recorded on a Monday, be out on a Tuesday. Now, me and Sam are on a team together, aren't we? Me, Sam, and Carl will be with you later this week. Now, I don't know if you can tell if you've listened to the podcast before, you would hopefully know by now. If you can tell if you're listening for the first time, Sam and I have some beef at the weekend.
Three-way beef.
Well, there's wording.
It's not vegan beef, is it?
There's ways to word that one.
Well, we said no vegan comments on the pod. Come on, calm down.
That lasted 5 minutes.
So we've got some beef to settle on Thursday, but before that, we've got a double beef to settle on Wednesday night, which is going to be extra fun. If Sam or I do not return to any future podcasts, one of us has gone 0-3 this weekend in results. Hopefully, neither of us will take it that seriously, will we, Sam?
No, it's. I mean, I won't. I know you might.
I will. Oh, I will. I so will. I will. I don't know how I'll do it, but I will remove myself from group chats. So, anyway.
Oh, there's a double benefit there, look.
More importantly, we are here to talk NFL, not college football. And as we mentioned before, the Chiefs-Ravens kicks off in a couple of days. We are by the time of release of this episode, we are going to be 2 days away from the kickoff of the NFL season. We are going to get into Chiefs-Ravens predictions. But first, we're going to break the huddle with some news. I'm going to fire it out as quickly as possible. There are a lot of headlines to get through. If you guys have anything to add at the end, from news stories to just anything you want to say at the end, I might throw a couple of pieces out to you, but we'll see. So, the NFL will not use the electronic system to spot the ball that has been trialled during the preseason. They will continue to use the ever so reliant chain gangs. NFL owners have voted to allow teams to sell 10% of the businesses to private equity firms. We could go into that into more detail, but that's not a conversation for today. I promise you, private equity firms investing in NFL teams is not for today. Every NFL team over the last week has cut their roster down to 53 players. This means, so we'll got one question I will ask you all in a minute is, are there any notable cuts? A lot of cuts made it into the news of the group chat. You know, if we wanted to list every cut, we'd be here for ages. So we're going to go through some notable cuts for our teams and any other notable cuts you noticed. There are two that particularly stand out, though, that the whole of the UK has been following, it feels like, in Charlie Smith and Lewis Rees-Zammit, neither of which made their rosters for the Saints and the Chiefs, respectively. Both of them did find their way onto a roster practice squad, though. Charlie Smith, the Irish kicker, made his way back to the Saints practice squad, and Lewis Rees-Zammit was picked up by the London Jaguars, the Jacksonville Jaguars, but you know what the Rams have traded. The Rams have traded Ernest Jones to the Titans. Ernest Jones and a 2026 sixth-round pick to the Titans for a 2026 fifth-round pick. The Falcons have traded Taylor Heineke to the Chargers for a conditional sixth-round pick. Where am I now? Ayuk has signed with the Steelers. Oh, sorry, just the way Steelers fans have gone on for weeks. You would think that was what had actually happened. No, he has chosen to stay in the
They have literally been cock-teased for an entire month, only just to get dropped like that.
Ollie, that one was for you, because you couldn't be with us today. Ayuk has extended with the 49ers for a 4-year, $30 million contract. And in a bit of drama news, it's not I don't think it's a proper news story, but we just have to bring it up. Jamar Chase has gone full Arsene Wenger and has requested 1 cent more than Justin Jefferson got in his record-breaking contract. No, we have a couple of Arsenal fans in here, and hopefully Sean as well. You will remember the incident with Arsene Wenger and the penny.
Wrong sport, don't care, move on.
The Dolphins are extending head coach Mike McDaniel to a multi-year extension. Malik Neighbours has been granted permission from Ray Flaherty's family to wear the number 1 jersey for the New York Giants. 49ers Ricky Pearsall was shot during an armed robbery at his house. From all reports, he was taken to hospital. He was released from hospital the next day, and he is okay. That's all that matters. That's literally end of story. 100%. All that matters, and everyone at the network is thinking of Ricky and his family, and wishing him a speedy recovery and hope full health back to the NFL as soon as possible. Finally, just the last couple of bits. Sky Sports have announced the blackout games for the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. And we all love a blackout game on Game Pass, don't we, lads? It's what we pay. It's what we pay all that money for. In week
The
one,
NFL UK group loves a blackout game.
oh, we
Christ.
really do.
Every week.
We right. One new rule for the Hurdle the Line podcast
We're
is
trying
the
to build
NFL
bridges
UK
here.
Facebook group is banned from being mentioned. The NFL UK Facebook group and Matt Patricia just not allowed in conversation. Okay. Week one.
Touche.
Week one will be the 6 p.m. game. Will be the Steelers at the Falcons. And the 9:25 game will be the Cowboys at the Browns. So unlucky Chapman. And
Oh,
unlucky
shock and horror. Shock and horror.
Week 2, the 49ers at the Vikings will be the 6 p.m. game, and the Bengals at the Chiefs will be 9:25. Obviously, this week, Thursday night, as every week, Thursday night football, Sunday night football, and Monday night football are on Sky Sports, but also on DAZN, or whatever you call them properly.
Mm-hmm.
And Friday night football this week will also be on both. Last bit, and I promise you this is the last bit now. I don't know why this is being put in here, but I'm putting it here anyway. Paul Rudd will narrate the 2023 America's Game documentary featuring the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Now, lads, anything you would like to add to the news headlines first that I have missed out on?
So, there's been a breaking news update. It's come from Tom Palacero. The 49ers, they've placed wide receiver Ricky Purcell on the reserve/non-football injury list after he suffered the gunshot wound in an attempted armed robbery over the weekend. Purcell, the team's first-round pick, will miss at least the first 4 games. So it's just a little bit of a top of what you've just said there.
Totally understandable. Nice one, Carl. Anyone else got anything to add on the other, any other news stories? So, okay then, as we get into it, I'm going to have a couple of very specific questions to very specific hosts. I'm going to throw straight to you, Sean. We'll get you back in this week. We'll throw straight to you. Talk to us about Malik Neighbours and the number 1 jersey.
Well, I guess I'll start by saying I've already ordered it, so that's a good start. As soon as it was confirmed, I was straight on to Fanatics, or whatever the hell you call it these days, and that's ordered, so it doesn't look like it's going to come before the start of the season, annoyingly, but, it's on the way, so that's fine. But yeah, I like it. I really like it. I know I'm not a fan of retiring NFL numbers anyway. I know some people love it. I think it's kind of very divisive anyway. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's nice that they've got the family's permission to do it. I think he is the great hope of our franchise at the moment, so it feels very fitting. And he was never going to get the number that he probably wanted anyway. So yeah, I'm over the moon with it. It looks great. All the people who ordered the draft shirts with 1 on will be very pleased because they've already got it. All the ones who ordered ones with 9 on, probably less so much. But that serves them right for ordering one that was never going to be his number.
Sam, talk to us about trading Ernest Jones to the Titans. It was mentioned last week that he was being put on the trade block. He hadn't asked for a trade. It was all a bit very up in the air on what was going on. Now he's at the Titans.
Yeah, dumbest decision we've ever made. I don't understand it. He'd just been given the leadership of the defense. They'd spent a lot of money bringing in Bobby Wagner to train him up and to make him the player he is. He was looking like he was on course to be a top 10, if not top 5 at linebacker. And I get that, people say you don't pay inside linebackers. Sometimes you just have to. And he was one of those to me that you pay. And whether it was that he was asking for way too much and we just refused to do it, but it just seems a really odd decision before you're about to go into your first game to basically get rid of your star linebacker. It just seems really weird, especially as we don't really have the sort of top players to replace him. I mean, we have Christian Roseboom, who he's had an okay season, but I don't particularly rate him. So yeah, I didn't like it at all. And I think in terms of what we gave away and got for him, it was just it's a bit insulting because we're essentially, all we're getting for him is a 5th, and we're having to give a 6th and give him away. It just seems bizarre.
Yeah.
Should have just kept him. If he was really not wanting to sign a new contract, keep him for another year and then get rid of him then. Yeah, okay, you don't get any trade, but for what you actually got for him, you may as well have just kept him. Especially if the fact that you didn't actually want that trade.
Yeah. Carl, I want to ask you a question on this as well. because you're in the AFC at the end of the day. You're outnumbered today, unfortunately, 3-1. It's the first time I think we've outnumbered AFC guest host on this podcast, and it's a proud achievement that I can be here today for it.
It's all right. Ollie can't dunk on me this week, so that's all that's all fine.
The Titans' defense add in now Ernest Jones, and you've heard the extremely high praise there that Sam was giving to Ernest Jones, and they've added L'Jarius Sneed to that defense. Do you think they could be a sleeper team this year, especially with the defense that they're clearly putting together there?
With the moves they have made now, it feels like we've given them a very, very backhanded compliment. Because when we did our predictions for who would win the division and where we thought we said Tennessee would be at the bottom, this, that, and the other, they obviously must have listened to the podcast and they're like, oh, that's what it is it? Okay, hold our beer then. We're going to actually go and do some stuff. L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best corners in the game, and Ernest Jones, was he linebacker, defensive tackle?
Inside linebacker.
Inside linebacker. So, good interior rusher that they got there. And yeah, this division, I gotta say this, the AFC South has now got more exciting. You got two hot shots at quarterbacks with CJ Stroud and with Anthony Richardson. Jacksonville not exactly going anywhere anytime soon. And Tennessee, they're basically saying, we have a new head coach, but we've added pieces to our defense, so we're going to try and make sure that we're not going to get left behind. Plus, they're all hoping on the idea that Will Levis actually takes it up to the next level. If he does, that AFC South is going to be absolutely wide open for anybody. And I dread to anyone who would be putting any one of those teams to win the AFC South, because it's going to be too close to call. I say this was going to be the closest division, probably maybe bar the AFC North, maybe. But yeah, I think Tennessee have put themselves back in the hot seat there. To try and maybe really challenge. I don't think they have enough in abundance to actually win the division, but maybe a playoff spot potentially.
Sam, there's only a couple of little bits I want to touch on before I kind of get into the proper bread and butter of the episode. But this concerns your division and concerns our good old friend on the college football podcast, in Gary. 49ers extending Ayuk finally after it's been in my opinion, a ridiculously drawn out process for whatever those reasons are. But how is it knowing that they're bringing Ayuk back in the division?
To be honest, I said it from the start. He was always going to stay at the Niners. Like obviously the rumors he was going to leave. This isn't the first time that the Niners have gone into a camp, refusing to pay someone, looking to trade them, and then re-signing them anyway on a big contract. Like, it's what they do. I mean, and I expect them to fully, they'll work ways around trying to get Trent Williams soon sorted out. But, yeah, I mean, to me, he's the better of the... It's probably maybe a tiny bit controversial. I think he's a much better wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel's a glorified... Well, he's a running back that's playing at wide receiver. I think he's much better out the backfield. But I think it maintains the fact that they're going to be a threat this season. And had they got rid of him, maybe we're looking at one less piece in the offense, which is always nice. But... yeah, they're always going to be a strong team, and keeping Ayuk's, just going to add to that. So, yeah, I know that Gary will be happy because I think he said from the start that he expected him to stay anyway. So,
yeah,
it's just something that they do. But yeah, I wanted him to leave.
One thing I will add on to that, Sam, obviously because you talked about the Niners, that they may have now re-signed Brandon Ayuk to the contract. But there's another player that's seeking a big payday as well. Offensive tackle, probably one of the best blind side blockers in the game. Get my words out correctly. Trent Williams. He's after a big payday. And I'll be very honest with you right now. If they lose Ayuk, I don't think it'll be the be-all and end-all for their receiving core. You lose Trent Williams, Brock Purdy's going to end up on Skid Row. It's not going to be pretty because Trent Williams, without him on that line, that offensive line becomes from a top 10 offensive line to an average, maybe even below average offensive line. Because Trent Williams is the heartbeat of that that offensive line. But this is what happens when you continue to kick the can down the road, and now all of a sudden you're running out of options, you're running out of chances. What did I say on my first ever show on here, Fletch, was that the 49ers, they've continued to do this now for the last 3 or 4 years. They're not going to get any more chances. Their window is slowly closing, and this season for me is their last chance of actually not just making a Super Bowl, but winning it. This is their last chance, because the cold, hard reality of the cap is going to knock on their door at some point. And they've got, as I said, 35 free agents in 2025. And if that happens and they don't win a Super Bowl,
once they get to that point where they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy, that's where they are in deep shit, because they've had the ability over the last 3 to 4 years to be able to, which they've been able to basically not have to pay him, keep him on a rookie contract, a very low rookie contract because of the fact with him being Mr. Irrelevant, and be able to then basically provide him with weapons. Brock Purdy's shown that he's probably going to want to be paid a hell of a lot of money.
Didn't they say that they were going to make him the highest paid player in the NFL? Wasn't that the deal? That's why they've managed to keep him on this money for so long. That was the promise.
The only way you can do that is by letting someone like Trent Williams go. You let Trent Williams go, you may as well just kiss goodbye to your offense, because the rest of although it's not terrible, it's not great. And I think putting Trent Williams somewhere else that can afford to pay him,
I think they'll get it done. I think they'll make it work, but I think he'll retire anyway. Is he not far off from retirement? He's getting on a bit now. I think he wanted. Did he not want to? He was not considering retiring last year. Wasn't that talk of that?
He's 36. He's 36, so he's not like exactly.
So they won't give him a new contract. I think they'll just restructure and give him some more money. To be honest, that's probably how they'll do it. But
give him some more guaranteed money.
Yeah.
But yeah, if realistically, then they're not going to want after he's finished this. I mean, he could retire at the end of this year, which is where they might be agreeing with him. Stay till the end of the year, and then retire. Then that essentially is their window to then pay Purdy, isn't it? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, keeping Ayuk's a good decision, I think, for them. But yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Thing is, well, did they also get rid of Ray McLeod? I think, didn't he go to the Falcons? So, I mean, they are quite light on the wide receiver. I mean, they've still got John Jennings. Pretty sure Ray McLeod went to the Falcons, and now obviously Ricky Pearsall's out. So they're only looking at 3 wide receivers at the moment. Well, two wide receivers if you don't include Ayuk. So they needed to keep that Ayuk deal, because otherwise, I mean, obviously prior to knowing what happened to Pearsall, but they don't have much depth in that wide receiver part. And obviously Elijah Mitchell is now gone, so it's now up to Mason to step up at running back behind McCaffrey. So,
and they need those options as well. Like when you think, I know Brock Purdy's he's one of them. Some people think he's more than he is or less than he is. My opinion is he's a system quarterback, and without them weapons, he doesn't do anything near what he's done. So they start disappearing, he's going to have problems as well. So they definitely need to keep it together.
This ain't a harsh or a dig on Brock Purdy, but he is basically an upgraded version of Jimmy Garoppolo in a way, really.
Yeah, he's a better. I mean,
better throw the ball. He can throw the ball deep. He can throw the ball deep. We've seen that. He can throw the ball deep, but
I mean, the thing I've always said is there is nothing wrong with being a great system quarterback. A lot of people see it as a negative, but it's not. It's just a terminology used. He's great for Shanahan's system. He's a system quarterback. You throw him in another offense where he's having to learn everything. I don't think he would be the guy to step up and make those, make all the big plays and basically control a team. So that might be. I've said that from the start, and it's not a slight on Purdy as a quarterback, but for me, he's a system quarterback, and until he can, I will always think that he suits Shanahan down to the core, and give him the weapons and the offensive line that they had, and it works. But
it was perfect timing for him and the team. Let's face it, the stars aligned for that one.
Yeah.
I think we could sit here and talk about the Niners all day.
Can we not, though?
Yeah, I was going to say, please can we not? I think we'd like to get on to the next bit. So the final bit of the news that I kind of wanted to talk to you about is, can we go through, try and make this one a bit quicker, because I've just noticed how long. Can you give us a couple of roster cuts, roster makes? Because we spoke about, some last week, we shouted out some players that may not make the roster, players to look out for around that. Just give us a shout on a couple of roster cuts that shocked you maybe a little bit from your own team, and maybe some roster cuts around the league, or some roster makes around the league that, okay, I don't think that too many of them are going to have made you walk around the house going, oh my god, no way. But any that kind of took you by surprise a little bit.
For the Giants, I was quite surprised that we cut Hodgins, to be honest. He's one of them where, like, he always seems to perform, and he always seems to have good camps, and he always seems to do well in pre-season, and then when we needed him, he helped us a lot that season. And then, he was one that I was expecting to just scrape through, and he's back at the practice squad now, and he'll probably end up coming back in at some point. But yeah, I was surprised. Also, we cut Dante Miller, who is a weird running back with a weird story, but the only reason I was more surprised at that is the fact that Tracy, who we drafted, is currently injured, and we're not sure exactly. It looks like it's not going to be long, but he's out, and we don't know what that looks like when he comes back. And outside of Singletary's our main back, and then outside of that, it kind of drops off a cliff. So I thought they'd want to keep people around on the roster, but again, he's going to come back on the practice squad as well. So yeah, there were a couple that I thought might just scrape in, but they didn't.
Yeah, for me, the biggest one I was quite surprised at was Zach Evans. I was surprised we cut him. Again, similar situation. I know we've obviously signed Blake Corum at running back, but it was either keep one or the other between Zach Evans and Boston Scott, and we got rid of both of them, which I thought was a bit bizarre. So now we're down to Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, and Ronnie Rivers. I've not seen anything from Ronnie Rivers to suggest he should be ahead of either of those two, but McVay knows what he's doing, I suppose. Xavier Smith had a really good pre-season, and he got cut. I was quite surprised at. But other than that, I think most of the players we got rid of weren't particularly newsworthy, apart from those really. I mean, we got rid of, even though I didn't think we mentioned on last week's pod where I talked about our third or fourth quarterback in Win, who didn't win his game and then got cut. So,
Carl?
Yeah, for me, there wasn't many that really did shock me in any sort of way. I think the one which I was a little bit more worried about was Kevin Harris, our running back. He did really well over it in pre-season, and he got cut, but then he cleared waivers, and we ended up putting him back onto the practice squad. So we've cut him, but we've also got him back at the same time, if that makes much sense. And the other one really I could only think of is really Sean Wade. He's a veteran, has been there for a fair few years for us now, but it seems like the likes of Marcus Jones coming back through injury looks like it's pushed him out, and as well as the second year guy Alex Austin has also pushed him out as well. So yeah, there isn't much to really go through. There was not a cut, but a very big surprise. Dale Pettis at safety. He made some big plays during pre-season, and it seems like Gerard Mayo and DeMarcus Covington, the defensive coordinator, they were pretty happy with him. So they brought him onto the squad, and yeah. So there wasn't really many cuts to go through, which really shocked me or any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
In all due honesty, the only one that could have been a shock for me if they did cut him is Kayshon Boutte, because I know for a fact he would not clear waivers. Someone would have picked him up.
It's a bizarre one, that one, because obviously coming into that original draft, he was touted. I mean, apart from having the supposed major attitude issues, he was I think before everyone started that talk, he was looking at being one of the top wide receivers to go off the board.
It was a first round pick. at
Yeah.
LSU, and when he had that big breakout year, he was was potentially a first round pick coming out of LSU.
Yeah, but then obviously the big news about his attitude and all the issues around that basically saw him plummet down the board, and he's not really done much with the opportunity that he's been given by the sounds of it. He's not. I don't think he really featured at all last year, if any, a game, maybe a couple
One
of
game
snaps.
And
yeah,
I can tell you what play it was as well, because this is what you never saw him again all last season. It was when we lost the week 1 game. It was 25-20 to Philadelphia. Brilliant ball by Mac Jones he threw. Keishon Butte only managed to get 1 foot down. What's the rule? You need 2 feet in bounds. And he had 1 foot down, and that was enough for Bill Belichick to just lynch him off and then not play him for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I've just had a quick look, and Zach Evans has been signed to our practice squad, so I'm happy about that he's been kept, at least on the practice squad.
It looks like the theme of the disrespect from running backs carries through into cuts as well now. Seemingly they don't expect them to get picked up by anyone else and just come get them right back on the practice squad. It seems to be the attitude.
Yeah. Actually, coming from the Lions as well, I mentioned Isaiah Williams a couple of times, who UDFA started impressing, particularly in week 2 of the preseason. Just kind of really stood out for me against the Chiefs, and he made the roster. CJ Moore, safety, who has been with the Lions, feels like forever now. He's always been he's been a rotational piece as a safety. Bit odd to me that they cut him. He's always played a decent role on special teams. Couple around the league, though, I don't really tend to pay too much attention, apart from the ones that say we pick up. Or, I like to follow former Lions players who get cut. And I always find it funny how guys who, up to 2 years ago, were starting defensive backs can't make a practice squad around the rest of the league. It says a lot about where we were previously with defensive back situations, which, of course, it is with the Lions' defensive back woes are infamous now around the league for the last couple of years, particularly. So, watching, was it from the Rams? Didn't you cut Jerry Jacobs? Was it Jerry Jacobs?
We didn't have Jerry Jacobs, no.
I'm pretty sure the Rams had a former Lions starting DB on that they cut. I don't know why every time I go back, it keeps keeping me on the same page.
Cameron McCutcheon we cut as DB. That's it. It's the only player who got cut.
To be fair, it could have been a little bit further in the off season, where he was cut but never actually found somewhere. I'm just triple check it was Jerry Jacobs. So it's not leaving my head that it was Jerry Jacobs. I searched about.
Oh, he was on our practice squad. Yeah, he was on our practice squad. He never actually played.
Yeah,
or made it anywhere.
Towards the end of last season, just before we got into the playoffs, was a starting defensive back at times. Could not make the Rams practice squad. Amani Oruwariye, who the greatest achievement, as far as I care, is that I can say his name correctly. Former starting DB. Cannot make his name anywhere. I was, though, impressed at Tim Patrick as a pickup and Allen Robinson as a pickup. I said, and before we move on, and this is, I am never wrong. I am just not right yet all of the time. But I am never wrong. I made on a Detroit Lions podcast 4 years ago a premonition, and I put it out into the universe, even though, that Allen Robinson would play for the Detroit Lions. I wasn't wrong. I was just not right yet. So
yeah, he was shy for us, so he won't be any better for you.
No, he'll just go on special teams. That's all it'll be, special teams, because I don't know if you've watched any of our special teams throughout the pre-season, but oh my days, that was terrible. And I do hope Maurice Alexander is enjoying his new job selling car insurance.
Well, on special teams news, obviously, Kyron Williams has been named as our starting returner, which speaks major concerns for me personally, because we've done it with Cooper Kupp before, and I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now for our starting running back.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you feel about that? It's a weird one, isn't it? Because when you
like it.
when you look at like the depth you've got in that position as well, it's such a risk to do it. It's a weird one.
You could. I mean, personally, I would show Tutu Atwell there because he's small, he's fast. Like, just stick him there. If he gets taken out, he's not a worry to the offense. Whereas if Kyron Williams gets taken out, we're down to one running back and one half running back that I don't like. So,
I mean, I get you're going to get experimentation this year. Like, special teams coaches are going to be trying all different types of things to exploit the new rules and the new kickoff and stuff. But to shove your starting running back there just feels like a red flag straight away.
Yeah, it's for me, it's a recipe for disaster, personally. Unless he has that much faith in Blake Corum to be able to step up and deliver on offense, then fair enough. But yeah, I wouldn't be doing it.
The other one that I kind of did notice was Marvin Harrison Jones Jr. is not the only junior whose dad played in the NFL that entered the NFL this year. Frank Gore Jr., whose dad was only in the NFL a couple of years ago, came in as a UDFA and he got cut by his dad's former team, the Buffalo Bills. I know he's back on the practice squad with them now, but I just kind of found it a bit interesting. All the talk has been about former NFL wide receiver, former Colts wide receiver, Marvin Harrison, his son, and we all kind of forgot what a legend Frank Gore was and how his son is now in the NFL. But UDFA,
he did a little bit in pre-season as well, didn't he? I'm sure I saw some clips of him doing some bits in the pre-season, and I'm sure his dad came out and said that it's kind of in his blood type of thing, and he was kind of ringing that bell a bit, and then the next thing you know, he's been cut.
But this is going to make us sound very, very old, okay? But there was a list I saw on X, I think it was a few days ago, of the list of players that used to play in the NFL and currently right now their kids are playing in the NCAA right now. The list is ridiculous. I'm thinking, I'm 33 years old here. How the hell am I only seeing this?
We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago on the College Football Podcast. I kind of threw some of the questions at your good friend as well, Cal, Nick. What was really brilliant was like, can you guess who such and such's dad was? And I'd be saying something like such and such junior. No, it just gives it away, doesn't it? Who's the dad of such and such junior? I was watching Kennesaw State. I will get again. If you want to get seriously into the college football talk, we'll get into it on Wednesday. But even Josh McCowan came up for me at the weekend because I was watching his son, Owen McCowan, play, which was fun as well. So, anyway, as we kind of move on, let's start getting it into talking about Thursday because look, it just can't come quick enough. Chiefs at Ravens. Where do we start with this one? A repeat of the AFC Championship to get us off for the season. What are our first thoughts? I'm going to throw straight to you, Sean, on this one. What are your first thoughts on the game?
I'm just excited to see it, man. I'm so excited to see it. Like, it's what a way to open the season. Like, the teams are so, in my view anyway, so closely matched. You've got just insane offenses on both sides. Both defenses are very, very strong. I'd probably lean more in the Ravens for that, but it's just going to be explosive from the first minute. You can just see this is going to be one of the best games of the season in the first week. So how lucky are we to get that to kick the season off?
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to see Derrick Henry as well. I can't wait to see what he does in that offense and how they're going to try and cover him and Jackson all at the same time.
It'll be interesting to see how they mix those two together because obviously they're both very powerful runners, and they're not going to want to lose Jackson at any point, but they're also not going to want to remove his ability to be able to run just because they've now added Henry there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they run that, and it wouldn't shock me to see a few screenplays with Derrick Henry bulldozing a few people, as he's done over the years. So. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offense, and I just want to see I want to see them both go for it and hopefully just produce a good game. I do like a good defense, so I want to see how Kyle Hamilton plays, see if he can back up all the talk of him this year. Be interesting to see how Roquan Smith does without Patrick Queen this year. See how he copes. So yeah, I think there's going to be a few caveats to this this year, and obviously Mahomes having more weapons is going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
See if he can actually make use of the weapons that he has.
What about
Are
you,
we
Carl?
expecting first play deep ball to Worthy just to set the tone for the rest of the season?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
What about you,
to
Carl?
see.
What are your first thoughts on the game?
My first thoughts on the game is until the Ravens actually find a proper way of stopping Mahomes in Kansas City, they ain't going to beat them in a more convincing fashion. The one statistic I'll throw out there, the Ravens have only beaten the Chiefs once. And it was that 45-42 barnstormer of a game. I remember it was a couple of years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago. I just look at the Ravens and are they ever going to play up to their Super Bowl caliber potential? Look, we have the exact same conversation every year for the last half decade. Look, Lamar Jackson, look, he is the ultimate paper tiger who crumbles into a ball every January. The defense pretty much holds the fort most of the time, but every time they play the Chiefs, they bend the knee to them. They always bend the knee to the Chiefs. It's a perpetual teasing and temptation until the injury plague rushes through. It devastates half their team doing everything. They have got King Henry now. They've lost the Queen, but they've got the King. Thought I'd add that pun in there. And the Chiefs don't. But the Chiefs. One thing I will say this about this game is that the Chiefs do tend to struggle. They are very sluggish getting out of the gate in week 1. We've seen that many times, and we have to witness that last year when obviously the Lions came into Arrowhead and won 21-20.
Is that what
So
Can I just say though, I know people say that they always start slow. Andy Reid is 8-1 with the Chiefs for the opening game of the season. The only one he lost was that last one. So although we say that they're a slow starter, they've only lost one of their last 9 seasons with Andy Reid as head coach.
I can just see Fletcher's head just getting bigger and bigger as you say this.
Well, that debunks my theory very quickly.
Okay, if we want to talk about an opening game, let's just go back to last season. And let's just keep talking about last season's opening game. Talk about Brian Branch's pick 6. I'm going to give you a couple of not stats for the game, but let's look at the betting lines. We're not a betting show, obviously, but it's always a good indicator, good place to start as well when looking at the games and kind of where we're at for a game. So the money line, ever so slightly in favour of the Chiefs, who, according to Bet365, are 4-6 to win on the money line. The Ravens are 5-4. The spread is Chiefs by 3. So Chiefs -3 or Ravens +3, and the total, the over/under. Do you want to if any of you got Bet365 in front of you, be quiet. But if you haven't, do you want to take a guess at what the over/under is for this game?
It'll be in the 50s. It has to be
I
early 50s, 53 and something like that.
I'd go 56.5.
Go on, Carl. Do you have a guess?
15.5.
It's 46. According to Bet365, the over/under is 46.
I mean, to be fair, they do have strong defenses. I can understand that, but I would never back the unders in that game, ever.
What's going to be interesting with the Chiefs is how they manage in their secondary without L'Jarius Sneed. Mm-hmm. That's a big piece to... they've got Trent McDuffie, who was very, very good last year. But, L'Jarius Sneed's a big loss to them. But they've got Stone Cold Chris Jones still at defensive tackle, and he's the main focal point of that defense. I just think if the Ravens are going to have any chance of winning this game, they have to get out early, and they're going to have to shut Mahomes down very, very quickly. This is either going to be a tense game, or it's going to be a blowout. And I don't know which way it'll go, because as you said, the line is just very too tight to call.
So I want to ask you this one as well, just to continue as well. There is a favourite for an anytime touchdown. Do you want to have a guess at who it is?
Kelsey.
Pacheco?
Pacheco?
Nope.
Mark Andrews.
Is he
It's the
fit?
king.
He'll play.
It's the king. Derrick Henry is 20 to 21 to have an anytime touchdown. He's also favourite. I think it's 6-1 to get first or last as well. So they're also heavily favoured to see. So it's going to be a 3-point thing, but Derrick Henry is favourite to grab a touchdown. Essentially favourite to grab a touchdown in the game. We can pretty much word it that way.
I guess when you look at the Ravens, they brought him in for a reason. They see him as the missing piece in that offense. They see him as somebody who can then allow them to get the best out of Jackson where the pressure's not, because their running back situation has been horrible for years, and it's just they always have injuries. They think they've got the next one, and then he gets injured straight away. So yeah, I think obviously the betting kind of marries that they're going to focus heavily on Henry, certainly game one, and they're not going to want to take too many chances. So I see them just running the ball a lot, and then like Sam had said, using some trickery and using the advantage of having both that can run is gonna feature heavily in this game. So yeah, I suppose that's not too much of a surprise, even though I didn't guess right.
Just to clarify my previous point about 8-1, it's 8-2 if you include the Lions game now. So they lost to the Titans in 2014 and then lost to the Lions last year. So they're 8-2 in the last 10 years, and I think the Ravens are 6-4 in the last 10 years. So the favourites in terms of who plays better in the opening week is technically the
It'd be the Chiefs. And if you look at them, that'd only be one loss since Patrick Mahomes was the starter as well. Because you're talking a different. Alex Smith was a quality quarterback for them, but that's one loss since Patrick Mahomes was the starting QB, and it's been Patrick Mahomes' team, which to a certain extent does feel like it's a different team when you call it that. So, but do you run into it's okay? Let me ask this then: if you've only lost one in that time, Patrick Mahomes has obviously won other Super Bowls in his career.
Has he?
So that's not the first time they've hosted the single first game of the season. But do you run into the opportunity that Ravens might be licking the lips at, just like the Lions were a year ago, Super Bowl drunk Chiefs?
There's always a risk of that, I guess, isn't there? I don't think it's a big risk, really. I don't think the players and the character that they've got in that team, and then the coaching as well. I think it'd be sort of unfair to say that, considering who they've got in that organisation. But you can't rule it out. And there's also the questions around: is this the year Kelsey starts to drop off? And if that happens, what happens to the rest of the offense? Because as much as he's a weapon in terms of his receptions and his touchdowns and his yards, he's also creates so much for everyone else. And I know it's not uncommon that people are looking at this year. Is this the year that it happens? If that starts in week one, there's obviously that. So yeah, I think it'd be unfair to say they would maybe be going into it with one eye off the ball essentially, but you can't rule it out.
I mean, I did want to throw it out there though last year that this is what the Lions were licking the lips for. Sorry. But I want to add that it wasn't necessarily a Super Bowl drunk Chiefs that the Lions beat. It was Chiefs who had butterfingers and a bad case of the drops that the Lions beat. Sorry, Sam, I've got to crash you there.
I think the difference this year is going to be, I think, obviously everyone's talking. Obviously, I think these are I suppose the reasons why I think people are looking at the Chiefs in this way is because, like they say, people are expecting potentially Kelsey to have his start of his decline. So that's part one. Rashee Rice has all the issues off the field. That's part two. People say that's not going to play a part. It does definitely play a part when you go into a season and it's still hanging over his head. They've not made a decision on what's actually happening with him. There's part two. Hollywood Brown is out injured. So that was a weapon they were expecting to have. So essentially you're now looking at a rookie in Xavier Worthy. He's the other. So again, rookie going into his new season, into his first season, against arguably one of the best defenses in the league, or one of the best defenses, not even arguably, one of the best defenses in the league. there's lots of different factors that you have to consider with the Chiefs this year that could potentially mean that they lose that opening game. The Ravens haven't really lost anything on offense.
60% of their line ain't. No.
Yeah, but in terms of like the like obviously adding Derrick Henry, they've got two explosive running. I don't want to say running backs, but because Lamar Jackson's sort of a running back in a way. So that you've got those two in the backfield. Zay Flowers is now in his third year, so he's third year. So he's obviously that little bit more experience. Mark Andrews plays. There's another factor. Get the link between him and Jackson is always really good. And I'm not sure who their other running backs are. Rashard Bateman, he's still there, isn't he? Wide receiver.
Rashard Bateman, Zay Flowers. Yeah. They've got some weapons. The Ravens have got some weapons. Plus, they've also got one of the best safeties in the game in Kyle Hamilton as well.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another iron to wrinkle out for the Chiefs' offense.
I like Nate Wiggins as well. Big fan of Nate Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins as well. First round pick. So, yeah.
I think it wouldn't shock me if the Ravens won. Put it like that. I'm very much thinking that the Ravens are going to... I think I've backed the Ravens to win anyway.
Yeah, I've picked the Ravens as well.
I've just learnt something about the Ravens wide receiver car that has made my heart happy. So they're wide receivers.
Josh Reynolds.
They've got Zay Flowers. They've got Rashard Bateman. Obviously, they've got Mark Andrews, tight end. But they've also got a man responsible for my favourite moments in NFL history, Nelson Aguilar. I absolutely love Nelson Aguilar. Purely for the drop against the Lions that caused the man to, after he saved multiple people from a burning building in Philadelphia, did an interview on the news, and the first thing he could do was bring up Nelson Aguilar dropping a ball. like American news does. But
I can't stand Aguilar just purely because of the fact that I've been burned so many times in fantasy because of that.
I've been burned because he played for the Patriots. He was freaking
I was going to say, you've got first-hand experience of that.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of burn.
Your fantasy doesn't even scratch the surface regarding Aguilar. Come on.
But yeah, if anyone ever remembers, if you don't, go on YouTube and type in Nelson Aguilar news or something like absolute quality moment. And that's always just... Nelson Aguilar will always have a special place in my heart just for that. I'm sorry. But they also have Tylan Wallace, Devontae Walker,
big fan of Devontae Walker,
and I was going to say Isaiah Washington, but he is on injured reserve. So, and then you've got Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kohler, also as backup tight end.
They have. I'm pretty sure Harbour came out and said that Isaiah Likely is going to play a big part this year as well. I think you're probably going to see a lot of two tight end formations this year, so expect him to take up a few snaps.
Well, if you're Derrick Henry's amazing, but he's not necessarily, he's not got the sort of dynamic, I guess, when he gets running, as say a Lamar Jackson is, or at least
he's just a bulldozer.
He's just a bulldozer. He's not necessarily dynamic. So what you're gonna want to do for someone like create the hole and then just let him do what he does. Whereas Lamar Jackson's going to find one. I'll make one himself at times. Absolutely see that happening as well. Or, you go into, maybe as the Ravens, you become a team that run first to set up Lamar Jackson, throwing it, maybe.
I mean, this has always been the one of the beauties of Lamar Jackson is the ability to keep to keep the defense from not knowing what he's going to do. And I think that, very much like we've said of Mahomes over the years, where he's just made plays out of nothing. Lamar Jackson has that ability, but he's the one doing the plays. He's the one making the runs, and adding Derrick Henry to that just makes it even more confusing as to what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the Ravens, go quite, I don't want to say decimate the Chiefs, because you're never going to decimate the Chiefs, but put a marker down against the Chiefs.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I think there's only so much more that can be said about this game. There's a lot of unknowns as well going into this season. At the end of the day, this is week 1. We've seen what we've seen in pre-season. We've seen what we've seen through additions. But there are a lot of players who didn't play in pre-season who will still be a little bit rusty. And a lot of both teams are treating this to a certain... I mean, well, we saw a bit of Patrick Mahomes and some of the starters against the Chiefs. We saw that egregious, just disrespectful attempt at a pass against the Lions in week 2, which I still don't forgive any of them for. But, it's going to be an interesting game. There are a lot of unknowns. So what I want to do is we kind of wrap it up and then we'll move on to the next bit. Do you want to go off money line? I think, money line, like overall result, or do you want to play against the spread this week?
I'll go spread, and I'll still take the Ravens.
So we'll go with the spread. So Chiefs -3, Ravens +3. Sean, you're taking the Ravens at +3.
Sorry, Tom.
Ravens at +3. Sorry,
Ravens
Tom.
at +3. Carl.
I'm taking Chiefs -3.
I'm sorry.
That's just a standard bangers and mash pick. So
I'm sorry to leave you hanging there, Carl, on your own. But I'm going to join Sean and Sam here, and I'm going to go Ravens +3. I don't see. I see this game being a game that has 1 or 2 points in it, like last season in the opener. It would be one of those games. It's like I said, I'm never wrong, just not right yet. So there might be another game with either of these teams that will happen like this soon. But it'll be a slow burner for the first half, and then a mistake or two will happen in the second. And it's just going to be, I think, I said this a lot last year, it's going to be a case of which team makes, there's going to be a third down in the second half. And they're both going to be met with which team has to kick a field goal, which team has to kick a touchdown. Kick a touchdown. Yeah, which team gets a touchdown, which team has to kick a field goal. Those kind of situations that are going to end up deciding the game. It's going to come down to a third down or a fourth down attempt or something. This week, for our last little segment, and we do a little question at the end, Sam brought one forward to us last week. Sam, it's your segment. You brought it forward, mate. Do you want to take this one forward?
Yeah, so I'll give the shout out because the guy that did this is pretty well known, but I'll need to find what it was. So it's a P2W Fantasy, goes by the name of Scrip on X. He did a 32 team, 32 hot takes. This was a mixture of just NFL and fantasy, and there was quite a few. I think off air we discussed a few of our teams' ones. I know, Sean, you weren't here, so just for the benefit of yours, he went with a fantasy related one for you, and it was Wan'Dale Robinson is a weekly flex starter for fantasy, which is good for me because I've gone absolutely nuts on getting him in the late rounds in so many drafts.
Well, I agree with that because I've been banging that drum for months. He's going to have a breakout season this season, so that is a very well called.
So I suppose just to, obviously there's loads on this 32, one for every team, but I just wanted to kind of get either your team's hot take for the season, or if you've got one for your team and one for just a generalised hot take. What are your hot takes for the season?
I'm very sorry. We will get on with this segment in a second. I have some news coming through, some breaking, exclusive news. It's all over social media already. The first practice reports of the season, injury reports of the season are in. If you would like to kind of get them just before we crack on.
Yeah, we'll go through them quick.
Yeah. So the Ravens injury report. And bear in mind, again, we're recording on a Monday night, so this is like the single first practice report of a season. So it's only you've got Adisa Isaac, linebacker, hamstring, did not practice, and Rasheen Ali, running back, neck, limited practice, unspecified game status so far for the Ravens. And for the Chiefs...
Seen this one. It is not good for them.
Where did it go? Here we go. Right, Chiefs injury report. Sorry, the page is loading. I did have it a second ago. And Safari's decided it's just going to close. It closes my tabs.
So I've got Chris Jones.
It does mean that Mark Andrews is fit though,
if you've got
expected.
It, Sean.
So we've got here. It just says no surprises, but then it has Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones shoulder, and it mentions Hollywood Brown. No Ravens starters on the report. Nothing surprising really, apart from Chris Jones. Didn't even know he was injured. It didn't say how serious it is either.
Well, so does it say was it DMP or was it limited?
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if it's a DMP.
So, yeah, here it is. Hollywood Brown shoulder did not practice. The rest were full practice. Nazir Johnson, cornerback. Chris Jones with the shoulder. So Nazir Johnson had a hamstring. Joshua Williams, cornerback, hamstring. Nick Bolton, linebacker, elbow. Wayne Morris, O-line, knee, full practice again. Derek Nade, defensive tackle, triceps. Joe, this writing is so small. Duna, guard, pectoral. James Winchester, long snapper. You hate to lose your long snapper. Shoulder. All of them, apart from Hollywood Brown, were full practice. So I realised that the page was messing up because as I was reading it out, they were adding the Ravens to the page. So it was just making the page go really slow. But yeah, so other than Chris Jones, as you said, Sean, nothing overly major or unexpected.
Oh, it says here they've got Chris Jones as full participation.
Yeah. Just, I think it might be a thing of he's just because he's on the injury report more than anything.
Nick Bolton was also full practice, so that's not too bad.
So
it was only Hollywood Brown who's DMP, which is probably good for them.
Let's face it, though, as well. One thing we know, and if you're relatively new to the NFL, I don't know how you managed to make it this far through this podcast, so fair play to you. But if you're new to the NFL, early in the week, like the 3 days before the game, a lot of them are projected designation. They are projected participations. They aren't actual participations. They're doing team meetings. And if you've got a short week, okay, maybe not this week because you've had, the preseason bye week. But if you're on a short week, this is purely a recovery day. So, and maybe you're getting in and trying to kind of speed up a bit of that recovery, etc. But it's a guess. The team makes a guess. His neck hurts. He probably would have made a full practice today, though. Might not have. So take normally first injury report of the week with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, it's the Thursday or Friday before the actual game that's the more important one.
You always look for, does the participation change Thursday to Friday? If they go down, bad sign. If they go up, good sign. If they stay the same,
who knows?
And this thing veterans.
If it's leveled out and it goes questionable to go to the final game, it'll either be if it goes to questionable,
the game day decision.
There's usually 9 times out of 10 when that player is questionable, they usually play, or it's literally game time or they put game time decision.
But yeah, just I would imagine that, and I don't mean this in a humorous way. If you made it this far into this podcast, you probably know a bit more about the NFL than being a newbie. But yeah, if you are a relative newbie, if you aren't fully sure on how the injury report works, these are usually good indicators. But don't forget that these are just projected participations. They did not practice today properly. Anyway, back to the amazing segment that Sam was bringing to us, and I'm very sorry, but first injury report of the season, I got very excited.
Yeah, so all I was doing was putting it to Carl as to what his 1 or 2 or however many hot takes he has for either the Patriots or the NFL as a whole.
Okay, so the two hot takes I have got is Drake May will start for the Patriots by week 10 because we know Jacoby Brissett is going to go down at some point. I've got my other hot take is Christian Gonzalez to be comeback player of the year. That's close. The other hot takes I've got two other hot takes away from the Patriots. Okay, so I'll start with the first one. This one I think is a little bit of a risk, but this guy's the ultimate boom or bust quarterback. My hot take is Anthony Richardson to break the regular season record for rushing yards for a quarterback. Lamar Jackson beat Michael Vick's record of, what was it,
1,206 it stands at from 2019.
Yep. So that's the one I've gone for that. And obviously the one which obviously it'll please Sean down there is obviously the Cowboys missing the playoffs. That's the hot take I've got. Because I'm going to show you something, okay? So the Cowboys last season, when they played playoff teams last season, they were 3-5. Their opponents were averaging 28 points a game. When the Cowboys faced inferior opponents, or as a fellow FS1 host would usually say them, called tomato cans, the Cowboys are 9-1. Their opponents average around 14 points a game. I don't trust this team as much as I can throw it. I cannot. That's why I've got them. I've got them going 9-8, but I've got them missing the playoffs this year because they just, at some point, they have to miss it. At some point.
Interesting. Sean, any hot takes for the Giants or NFL season?
I can follow that on actually from Carl because one of mine was going to be, and it may be optimistic and maybe I'm biased, but I am who I am. I expect or hope, maybe is the better word, the Giants to have a better regular season record than the Cowboys. That is one of my hot takes.
Wow.
So that you can book that right now, right? And I can't wait for the abuse I'm going to get for that on X, but we are where we are. And also, actually, so another Giants one, which is maybe slightly more feasible, but Malik Neighbours will break Odell Beckham Jr.'s rookie season numbers this season. So that is for the Giants, yeah. So that is two Giants ones. One other one for the NFL is I see the Steelers having their first losing record for, is it like 19 seasons or something they've gone now, where they've had a winning record. This is the year where it ends. Because that team is a shambles.
I would agree.
And I don't think Tomlin can do anything about that.
I would agree with you, but the Steelers will always BS their way to an over 500 record. They just seem to do it. It's the Steelers' way. They always say the standard is the standard. Yeah, that's the standard. Over 500, not compete for the playoffs.
Not this year. Not this year.
Okay.
See, just the mess though that the Steelers are in. Like, with all due respect, can that be considered a hot take right now?
Well, no, but the thing is that what Carl said there is exactly why it's a hot take, because even the state, and to be fair, I would argue they've probably been in worse states in recent years. I mean, Wilson and Fields aren't the greatest quarterbacks, but come on, look who they're coming in after.
I was going to say they're better than Kenny Pickett, aren't they?
Exactly. So and they still managed to get a winning record. So. And people still have that opinion, and I understand why, and the record speaks for itself. But I just feel like this is the year. This is where it's finally going to catch up with them, and coaching isn't going to help them.
Maybe just that previous take before it was so hot. Everything else just felt lukewarm after that.
Everything's ice cold now.
I had to take my hoodie off. It's getting out in here now.
The thing is, I have the Giants going having one of the top three picks, so that was a surprise to me.
So basically,
one of us is going to win.
Basically, the Cowboys have taken on the picking top two. Are they not two? Because that can still happen if the Giants pick in the top three. If they get picked 3 or 2, the Cowboys can still have a worse record. To just be
it could.
So,
yeah.
So
Can I
Maybe it
just
won't be that
Cowboys
bad.
will be
one
top
thing to
two in
just
the draft and maybe not two.
One thing I will say for the Steelers, okay? I've just looked on their fixtures. Their last 8 games, okay? On the road to Baltimore, at home to the Browns, at home to the Bengals, on the road to the Browns, at home to the Eagles, at home to the Ravens, on the road to the Chiefs, on the road to Cincinnati. If they are not if they do not have like a free, at least a 3-win lead going into them stretch of games, they will finish below 500 because that stretch looks absolutely horrible. It really
Awful.
generally does. It looks horrible.
One thing you forget about, by the way, I want to throw this to the Cowboys, is the NFL are not allowed to let the Cowboys lose at home. And
I can agree with that.
I'm not being that they won. I think they went unbeaten last season at home. I don't know if it was the season before, but I know they didn't lose many. If they might have lost one, there's that known conspiracy theory that Jerry Jones kind of threatens the NFL and says, "Listen, if we lose at home, I'll pull out." Because he invests. A lot of NFL stadiums rely on Jerry Jones' businesses to get themselves through a season, and that's not a secret. That's known.
fact.
So,
That's fact. It's well documented. Very well documented.
Maybe it's a conspiracy theory, but after what happened with us at the
It's not so much as that
stadium last year, I am fully bought into that one that the Cowboys not allowed to lose at home.
It's not so much as that though. Remember the Ezekiel Elliott incident
Yes.
a while back when, because obviously he got done for a misdemeanor, but there was no evidence put forward to him. So, but the NFL still ended up sticking a 6-game ban on him, even though no evidence was brought forward. This is between Jerry Jones and the Ginger Hammer, really. But
Okay, Fletch. Hot takes. Lions hot take and NFL hot take.
Okay, so my hot take, and really you can't consider this a hot take because it's just going to happen anyway. Jared Goff will be the MVP of the NFL this year, and so that's my hot take for the year. Jared Goff to be MVP of the NFL this season, and for the rest of the NFL, I'm finding this really, really tough because I think we've had some really good ones. I don't know. Does it feel like a hot take to say that the Jets will have a worse record this season than they did last season?
that would be impossible.
Is
Rodgers getting injured again? Is he?
He might be able to go through 8 snaps this time rather than 4. We don't know.
I think this may not be a hot take that I've considered through. This may just be wishful thinking. I don't wish injury on him. What I do wish, though, because I hate that man, I'll give you a million guesses as to why. I just hope he cannot find his feet again. And to a certain extent, I think there is. We've said this before in different subjects on this podcast. There is no smoke without fire. You listen to all the things that have come out of training camp, all the disarray, all the issues that have come on from the infighting, from the way people are talking to each other, to the way things are happening in camp, the way receivers, maybe it's a bit of hyperbole, but I'd like to think that Aaron Rodgers is just simply a knob. Nobody likes him. Yeah. Nobody plays for him. He doesn't have a good relationship. The defense maybe doesn't look as good this year as it did last year. And the Jets somehow just don't find it,
Robert Saleh
doesn't click.
Also, as well, Robert Saleh's on the hot seat because for the last 3 seasons he's had 10+ losses in each of the seasons, and there's one.
He's also had excuses for every single one of them.
He's had excuses for every single one of them. But I will say this: there's only one coach that has survived going over three seasons with 10+ losses in each season before they got fired, and that was Gus Bradley. He went into a 4th season and then he got fired in his 4th season. So for me, Robert Saleh, they have to make the playoffs. They have to. I think otherwise Robert Saleh's job's on the line here.
I would probably say that if the Jets do fall off as Fletch hopes, it probably wouldn't be Rodgers that is the cause. I feel like it would be the coaching to be honest. I feel like that's where the issues still lie. And I almost feel like sometimes the stuff that comes out of camp is maybe being released to take the eyes off the coaching staff and kind of push that narrative to other people, as opposed to look at us and look at what we still haven't done as a coaching staff.
Give it time. Rodgers will throw Salah under the bus on the Pat McAfee show at some point.
No doubt.
If things go wrong, but they've invested far more of the future of that franchise into Rodgers to go all in for him as well. Anyway, but here's my I guess it's not like the hot take, I guess, but it's the implication of the hot take. If the Jets, and again, I think it's more going to be a case of, look, there are things going on in and around that franchise, if it just won't click for them. The defense just won't have it as good as last year. There'll be some things that are figured out. They'll play some better coaches. They'll play some better schemes. And finally, again, on the offense, if it just doesn't click. And we've seen things that you can derail a season so quickly when things just don't click. It will be a race for me to see whether Billy Napier or Robert Saleh, who lasts longer this year. Let's
face it, it's the Jets. This is not outside of the realms of possibility for them to totally blow their own season. That is very Jets.
But obviously, we haven't heard Sam's yet. Sam, what are yours?
My Rams hot take is Blake Corum is going to get more not more runs. He's going to take more snaps than Kyren Williams this year.
I hope that's true.
And the only reason I say that is purely because of the fact I think Kyren Williams is going to get injured on special teams.
I was just going to say, is that because Williams gets wiped out on the first play of the season?
I think he is going to, at some point, it's just that whole dicing with death sort of thing. I just think he's going to get injured, and it's going to be down to Blake Corum to take over. So yeah, that's my Rams hot take. My NFL hot take. Well, I've got a few. I mean, the first one I have, and this one's again, it's not out of the realms of possibility, but I don't think it. I'm unsure how. I don't have a lot of faith in it, but I'm going to say Amon-Ra is going to be the leading receiving yards for the season. Which I know the Fletcher will like that one.
I like both of them. I love both of those takes.
He's in my fantasy league, so I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, well, he's the guy that I really like, and I think he has the ability and as long as he stays injury free, he's going to be one that I think will go. He could be the leading receiver for the season. And my other one.
So I would say bringing in Tim Patrick was a massive help for what we needed in the wide receiver room this season. But I've said the last few weeks, at the moment, Jameson Williams has to step up, and I hope it looks so far like he is. But we've lost Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. I love Leaf, but maybe he's one of those. Isaiah Williams, great. I can very, very, very much see, among with Jameer Gibson, with Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra may be, at this moment in time, his only truly consistently reliable target in that wide receiver room. So I don't see a reason why Amon-Ra cannot see so many targets this year that could just become a reality. So I like both picks for selfish reasons, but I actually think that was a very legitimate possibility.
Yeah. My last one, and again, this one's a very biased one. I am going to go Bijan Robinson to be the leading running back for rushing and receiving put together. I think he's going to outscore Christian McCaffrey this year. And that's pure. Again, there's a bias to it. Bijan's one of my favourite players of all time, in the NFL at the moment, and CMC plays for the Niners, so I'd like to see them not do very well.
I will say this: if you have a fantasy league name and your name is not here's to you Bijan Robinson, and you're around picking the same sort of area that he's going to be in, you don't get him. That's just a failure on your own part.
Nothing but facts.
We'll finish with then we'll just finish, because we do have Ollie, who isn't here today, but I do feel we do need to share his hot takes. So he's got 2 Browns ones. He's got Myles Garrett to break the single-season sack record, which stands at 22.5. So he'd need 23 sacks. He's got Deshaun Watson throws over 4,000 yards. And his final one is Caleb Williams breaks the rookie passing yard record, which I think is around 4,200 odd. I have got it here. 4,374, sorry, is the current rookie record. So there's his 3 hot takes, all of which I 2 of them I fully expected. I was expecting the Caleb one and the Myles Garrett one, purely because he mentioned the Myles Garrett one, I think, last week maybe, or he certainly mentioned it when we were...
He's just hoping and banking on the idea that Deshaun Watson actually stays fit and healthy this season.
Even if he is fit and healthy, still don't see that as a likely possibility.
To be fair, Sam, you might be the only one who saw those kind of takes coming. No one else could have seen it. I mean, he's hid his love for Caleb Williams, especially, rather well.
Oh, so yeah, like he's never talked about Caleb at all, has he?
No, not Myles Garrett either, really.
No. I've heard he doesn't like Myles Garrett.
That's what I've heard too. Listen, we can release the receipts from the group chat. No joke. On that note, I'm going to ask you all, which hot take that wasn't yours do you think is most likely to happen? Carl.
I like the Amon-Ra one, to be honest. Oh, sorry, I totally jumped in there. I do like the Amon-Ra one. I also am a massive fan of his. I've drafted him in my fantasy leagues every year. Well, I think there's 1 year I didn't get him since he came out. But then I actually traded for him, so, big fan. So, and like you say, he's going to be their main target. The only concern would be is that he starts getting double coverage and stuff like that, and, that kind of curtails it a bit, but... He's also incredibly durable as well. That's the good thing about him. He plays injured and still top wide receiver.
The Laporta season, I think, is the one that will help Amon-Ra more than anything, because Laporta is going to need to have a fair few people marking him, because he's an absolute monster as well. So I could see him
between
doing well.
Laporta, Amon-Ra. I mean, Jameson Williams going to be... he takes the top off.
He's your Z receiver. He's just going to take the top off.
Yeah, just going to take the top off. So Gibbs, Laporte, and Amon-Ra, they're going to operate in the bit where Jared Goff is most comfortable. So expect all those 3 to be favourites of his anyway. So, and if you do want to double up on Amon-Ra, okay, Laporte, here you go. And then And then you'll find that one where somehow, okay, Jameson Williams is going to have to stop his run about 5 yards early, but he will take the odd deep shot onto Jameson Williams as well. But, Carl, which one of those that wasn't yours do you think is most likely to happen?
I think it's more likely Amon-Ra St. Brown's one. For me, personally, I think he's got the tools there to help him. Goff throws the ball very, very well towards him as well. Very good at getting his separation. He's actually got very good speed. Not a lot of people witness that. He's actually got good speed, especially yards after the catch. Once he's caught the ball, that's it. He's gone. Good luck if he's in stride as well. That's the one I would probably go for. Most likely to happen, in my own personal opinion.
Obviously, you think you know where I'm going with that one. I'm going to agree with Sean and Carl. Sam, you made that prediction, so you can't go with that one. Which one do you feel is most likely out of Sean's, Carl's, and I's?
I can't. There was so many. The Jets one probably is the one I'd probably. No. It was the Steelers to finish in a negative season. That's the one I think will really happen. That for me. I think it feels that the most.
Build me up to let me down there, Sam. Thank you.
I do like the Jets one, but that's purely because I don't like Aaron Rodgers. So
no one does.
To see him fail would be great.
It would.
I'm just utterly shocked that nobody picked the Giants having a better record than the Cowboys. Like, I'm genuinely shocked that no one thought that was the best one.
There's only so much copium we can take before we get drunk on it.
Is it?
What do you think I've been doing all day?
I tell you what, if that
I
happens,
said about the Cowboys at home.
yeah, if it happens, I think we all have to buy Sean something.
Yeah, like a big trophy. I'll take a big trophy.
So if that's the case, if that happened, we all gave it a lot for that number 12 Bo Nix pick. You know what I mean? Even more for that one, I think. Would you like a guess the player to end tonight? I've got one here just in case. Okay. So your guess the player via their career path for the week. They were a Bulldog, a Ram, a Giant, a Jet, and a Bear. And now they're retired.
A Ram, a Giant,
A Ram, a Giant, a Jet,
and
and
a Bear. Trying to think who we've sent to the Giants.
And bear in mind they're retired as well.
Yeah.
Well, if we drafted them,
I'll
and they're
give
retired.
you one click. You drafted them while you were in St. Louis. You weren't in LA.
Oh, okay. They ended their career as a Bear. I mean, this is pretty poor.
I can't think. I'm completely baffled.
Carl,
Offense
are
or
you anywhere with it?
defense?
Defense.
Defense.
Defense. He had. How many was that? He was a starter in the Rams, and well, he was a starter at the Rams and the Jets for quite a while. Started at the Bears throughout his last season as well.
I think it was St. Louis era. It's way before I started actually following the NFL, so it's quite it's a difficult one.
He did get traded while in LA though, so he was there.
It would have been towards the very end then.
Yeah. So he was there for the move. He was in LA for a couple of years.
Okay.
As a starter on defense. And then Sean, because I know, we spoke about OBJ, etc. I know your era. He was obviously a giant during your era as a starter on defense for a couple of years.
The problem is our defense being that bad, you easily forget half the people that have passed through. Was he there long as well? A couple of years, did you say?
2 seasons. Played 13 games, started 13 games, both times.
I genuinely can't think who it could
I
be.
can't think.
I'm sure Tom and
I'm sure they would
Ollie
have,
will
right?
be screaming at the.
So I'm not. But to be, I think that's the same. And I also think Chapman's probably sat here now screaming, "Going, come on, you're giving too much time now." It was one of my favourite names to say in the NFL, Alec Ogletree,
Oh,
linebacker.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I can actually see his jersey in all of those teams now as well. In my head, I could visualise the jersey.
Number 52.
Oh.
So
yeah, that's poor. Should have known that.
little bit disappointed. Like I said, I've tried every week, not only to try and get someone who's played for at least one of the franchises. I've been trying as of late to make sure that they played for at least 2. So if one of you maybe doesn't quite remember it, one from your time, the other one will get it. And thanks for that one.
Shocking.
So, with that being said, Sam, Carl, I will see you at the end of the week as we're going to go and do a full slate of games. Sean, thank you so much for coming back, mate. And we will see you next week for the reviewing the weekend's games. What we heard, I've got to do it. Chapman's favorite question. What we hurdling this week?
Cowboys missing the playoffs.
Do you know what?
Hurdling the Giants beating the Cowboys in their season predictions.
I'll drink to
I'll
that.
take that. I'll take
So
that.
what we're taking: Saints, Cowboys, Giants picking in the top 3. Next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I just
We need our tackle.